Okay, hello. So this is going to be part two of my Tara series, and today I'm going to be going through the basics behind critical thinking in order to help you actually understand what it is as well as how to apply it to different passages. So just before we go into the skills, we need to actually go into what the Tara module is. So you have 22 different passages followed by multiple choice questions with only 40 minutes, which works around 1 minute and 49 seconds per question, which is not a lot considering how much these passages and questions actually expect from you. So first, a piece of advice: do not skim read. Please take your time. It is better to answer a question correctly and perhaps miss a few rather than going through everything quickly and getting them wrong. Yeah. So, in order to actually understand critical thinking, you need to know a few definitions. And these ones are arguments, conclusions. So, arguments are essentially reasons people put ahead for conclusions. Now, I know that a lot of schools and just in general, when you hear conclusions, you think of endings, but another definition of conclusions is what you take away and the gist and judgment. So, keep that definition in mind just because if you think conclusions are the ending, you're going to perhaps be more geared towards looking towards the end of a passage to find a conclusion, which is not always the case, especially not with Tara. They like to hide their conclusions perhaps in the middle, so bearing that in mind. Another thing to also bear is in mind is that arguments will always be valid if the reasons lead to the conclusions, even if the reasons are wrong or the conclusions are wrong. And that's how Tara trips you up because they use such specific and weird language to try to confuse you, and yeah, it's you so you need to be careful when reading it. So I have a simple example to actually understand and perhaps identify. So just taking a read of it: he promised he would cook dinner or order takeaway. I know he can't cook, so I'm expecting a takeaway. So what are the reasons being put forward, and what is the actual conclusion? So the reasons are that he promised he would cook dinner or order takeaway, and I know he can't cook because those don't necessarily tell us the final product, but we do know that the final conclusion that we're taking away from this argument is that takeaway is being expected, and we know that him promising to cook dinner or order takeaway and him not being able to cook leads to us expecting that. So that is one way to find it out. And yeah, so you can easily apply this to longer passages, but it's more important that you start a bit more easier with smaller passages to build up your skills. So yeah, that's the reasons and that's the conclusion. Now, what is an assumption? An assumption is a crucial part of an argument not stated. So you could essentially think of it like an argument and a reason, but is not explicit and is something that a person and a reader has to assume. Um, so in my little example, she doesn't stand much of a chance. The lion is right behind her. So the conclusion is that she doesn't stand much of a chance, and this is actually an assumption because it's understated and it's not something which we're being told. It's something that we infer because we're being told that the lion is right behind her. So a reader thinks to themselves, okay, lions are dangerous. That's why she doesn't stand much of a chance. Otherwise, we're not really directly being told. So it's just, Tara is just a matter of fact of reading into things properly. So by understanding these definitions in perhaps more simple terms, it will be much more easier to apply because I've seen online people making long, long paragraphs on what arguments are, what conclusions are. No, 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 no. Please don't do that. Just find a way to actually understand and apply it, and it'll be a lot more easier. Um, but yeah, so in my next video, I'm going to go through identifying main conclusions as well as actual exam questions. We're going to go into the longer passages, so I'll see you then.